Hi dear friends and subscribers, this is your host Ram. Once again welcoming you to a cricket happening show, and this is a special report today just because of the match between South Africa and New Zealand. What a match it was. In fact, Ryan Mclaren was the hero, hitting a six of the last ball of the final over when 3 runs were required for South Africa to stave off the whitewash. Yes, they did. Ryan Mclaren was the man who actually enabled South Africa to save the whitewash at the hands of New Zealand by hitting a six of the last ball. And what a six it was. 3 runs required. It was Ryan Mclaren on strike, and Ryan Mclaren deposited a ball which he picked up from outside the off stump, which was bowled by Franklin, and he swung it over the deep square leg for a boundary, and it went into the crowd, and the crowd were absolutely joyous. And why not? The South African fans were so happy that South Africa managed to actually stave off the whitewash. But just the way Ryan Mclaren did it, that was amazing. 3 runs required, and as I said, the ball was pitched outside the off stump, and Ryan Mclaren, cool under pressure, picked up that delivery and swung it over the fence for a six to clinch the victory. But well, definitely South Africa lost the series. But as far as New Zealand were concerned, even though they didn't manage to do the whitewash, thanks to Ryan Mclaren, who actually saved South Africa from getting a whitewash 3-0 by New Zealand. And let me tell you, today also New Zealand put up a great show there on the field. Let's look at what happened. Just talking about the match between South Africa and New Zealand. As I said, in my first report, I've already spoken about the New Zealand innings. As far as the South African innings were concerned, South Africa started off chasing 260 to win the match. So as I said, it was a very, very competitive score. Quinton de Kock and Graeme Smith were the openers. They got a good start there. They put up a good start of 83 for the first wicket. And this was done in 15.3 overs, with Quinton de Kock contributing 31 and Graeme Smith also partnering de Kock, and both of them taking the score on to 83. So the first wicket to go was Quinton de Kock. After contributing 31 runs off 38 balls with 4 fours, he was dismissed, clean bowled by Franklin for 31. After that, Graeme Smith was joined by Colin Ingram, and Graeme Smith was there, so that was the one which really enabled South Africa to come so close and actually win the match, because he was the man of the match with a knock of 116 of 130 balls, 14 fours. This was his 10th one-day century and his first one-day century against New Zealand. And what a moment that would have been. Graeme Smith was the architect there. Even though Ryan Mclaren actually finished that, the great credit goes to Graeme Smith for holding the innings together when wickets were falling all around him. In fact, Colin Ingram, he made 25 of 40 balls with 3 fours, and then Faf du Plessis joined Graeme Smith, and both of them from a score from 83 was the opening partnership. They pushed it on to 122. Graeme Smith had the partner Ingram with him to push on the score to 122 in 26.20 in the 27th over, and then Faf du Plessis joined them, and Faf du Plessis' contribution was only 19 runs of 23 balls, 2 fours. But the main thing for South Africa was that Graeme Smith was fully entrenched at the crease, and he was playing so well. After that was the time when the score read 165 for 3. Farhan Bahardin came in, and New Zealand bowlers immediately started piling on the pressure on Bahardin, and Bahardin I would say succumbed to the pressure there, because what he did was he couldn't really get the ball off the blocks, so he actually tried to advance forward and try to drive Kane Williamson, but Kane Williamson picked up a wonderful catch. In fact, he had to dive over Graeme Smith's head, because Graeme Smith was the runner at that time, the non-striker, and he still managed to pick up the catch. So that wicket was very important, and Farhan Bahardin was gone. Cotton bowled Williamson for 4, which made the score 174 for 4 in the 37th over. But the hope was definitely there for South Africa, because Graeme Smith was there, and he was joined in by David Miller. David Miller came in, and Graeme Smith immediately advised David Miller probably to go for his strokes. And David Miller started playing his strokes, but one of the balls he actually tried to hit. He clearly missed it, and Kyle Mills was the bowler who had castled him. He has clean bowled him for 15 of 19 balls to 2-4, but Graeme Smith was still there, and the South African hope was still there of actually avoiding a whitewash. So 205 for 5, and David Miller departed. After that, Ryan Mclaren joined Graeme Smith, and Ryan Mclaren joined Graeme Smith, and things were going on pretty well. They had pushed on the score to 229. Graeme Smith had reached his century, but Graeme Smith, this was the very, very vital wicket where New Zealand, once they got the wicket of Graeme Smith, they really smelled something, and they started going in for the kill. In fact, Graeme Smith was the next to go, as he actually, I thought he tried one stroke too many. He actually tried to loft Williamson, and he actually didn't really middle the ball, and he got an edge. Wattling behind the stumps did the rest, and he was walking. So that was a very, very important wicket for South Africa, for New Zealand, as they picked up Graeme Smith's wicket for 116 of 130 balls with 14 fours. And so that was the time, 229 for 6, and that was the time New Zealand would have definitely believed that they are in with the whitewash. They went for the kill. McClanahan came in and really did the bogeyman job for his captain, as he picked up 2 wickets. Cleanville was clean bowled by McClanahan. He had already hit 1-4, but he tried one more stroke, but he was castled by McClanahan for 6. Aaron Fangiso also played one very good cheeky stroke for 4 over the wicketkeeper's head, but he also fell. He also tried to go for the strokes, and he succumbed as he was caught by Brendan McCullum on the bowling of McClanahan for 9. And finally, Dale Steyn was gone, as he tried another lofted stroke, this time of Franklin, and he was gone for 4. So that really made South Africa really work hard, because it came to a stage when finally it was left with at the end of over 49, 8 runs were required of the final over, which was bowled by New Zealand, and James Franklin was entrusted that responsibility. Let's look at how the last over went. James Franklin, the first ball that he bowled to McLaren, 8 runs required. Ryan Mclaren and Dale Steyn were at the crease at the time. Franklin bowled to McLaren. The first ball he bowled, he actually got 2 runs. He actually drove it to long on, and he took 2 runs. After that, the second delivery McLaren faced, he actually put it towards deep mid-wicket, and he went for a single. So that made the equation. They required 5 of the last 4 balls. Steyn was onto to strike, and that was a very good ball from Franklin. Actually, it was not a good delivery. The third delivery was a full toss actually, but Steyn couldn't take advantage of it, so he had to stay put at the crease. And then, but in the fourth delivery, Steyn managed to get 2 runs. So the equation was 3 to win of 2 balls. Steyn was on strike. Now this was the time where Steyn, in the 5th delivery, tried to hit a ball. He actually tried to hit Franklin over the fence, and in the process, he actually skied the ball very high in the air, and Elliott came in and took the catch. So that was the time. Now the time, but the good thing for South Africa was that Ryan Mclaren had come to the batsman's end. So once Ryan Mclaren came to the batsman's end, it turned out to South Africa's advantage, because if Lonwabo Sotsobe had to take the last ball, that would have been probably disaster, and that would have been a whitewash probably for South Africa. But lucky enough, because of Dale Steyn, even though he got out, they crossed ends, and Ryan Mclaren was at the other end. And this was the time Franklin, as I said, was bowling the final ball. Everybody were at the edge of their seats, especially the South African fans, because they wanted to be pretty sure that they are going to stave off the whitewash. And that was the ball which Franklin bowled, as I said, outside the off stump. But Franklin, in fact, picked up that ball and deposited it over. He swung it over the fence. It was a very good shot, according to me. He just, he really bent low and actually hit that stroke in a very measured manner, and it went into the crowds, and it was all over. Ryan Mclaren had not only saved, in fact, he had saved South Africa from a whitewash, and that's it. And that was the victory for South Africa. So South Africa winning the match, but as I said, this series has been this series has been a wonderful series. But what I'm going to do now is just going through the bowling figures. Kyle Mills 10 overs, 2 for 40. McClanahan was costly, but he got 2 wickets. That was very important wickets. 10 overs, no more than 2 for 70. Neesham 3 overs went for 22. In fact, Neesham, I would say, was also guilty of actually dropping Ryan Mclaren at deep mid wicket, because he didn't really attack to get the ball, get the catch, and that's why he dropped it. Nathan McCullum was the one who really piled on the pressure on the South Africans with his very good economical bowling. 10 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 35. Franklin 6 overs, 2 for 38, bowled the last over. Elliott 3 overs for 14. Williamson also picked up wickets, 8 overs, no maiden, 2 for 40. And well, you all knew who was the man of the match. It was Graeme Smith for 116 of 130 balls with 14 fours. So now, just talking about this match, what I'm going to do is, since I have time, I'm just going to have a brief look at what happened. And this was the last match of the New Zealand tour of South Africa. So, but let me tell you, New Zealand not only winning the 2 matches, they almost gave a whitewash to South Africa, because this ball went to the last ball, and also South Africa won only by 1 wicket. So that itself says that I would say it's a literal whitewash that New Zealand have done to South Africa, in fact. And this is a very creditable performance for New Zealand. New Zealand are taking a lot of positives out of it, but the main problem has been Martin Guptill's batting has not been clicking. And as you know, with the other tours coming up, Ross Taylor is going to be back, so that is going to really strengthen this New Zealand team. And there is some real talent available for New Zealand now. Watling is a very good batsman, he has proved it. Kane Williamson is really coming of age, and Grant Elliott has been playing some very good knocks. Then they have Colin Munro, all-rounder. Today he picked up his maiden 50, was pretty impressive. And James Franklin has been showing that he's the bits and pieces all-rounder for the team. And Nathan McCullum's bowling, the right-arm off spin, has been good. Neesham has not done much of note, but New Zealand have definitely persisted with him. Probably he definitely has something in him to deliver in the future. And then McClanahan on his debut took 4 wickets, and they actually got a head start by winning the first one international. For South Africa, well, they have to really work hard. They definitely have the talent, but as I said, it's very difficult to I mean, you can't say that just because there was no Abby de Villiers or Hashim Amla, they couldn't actually win the match, because that there are no excuses, because I thought they were having a they were really pitted against a very competitive unit like New Zealand. And as I think, and also one more thing that it does for New Zealand is that they were 9th in the ICC one-day rankings, and I'm sure their ICC rankings would have improved with this 2 victories that they had under their belt in this series. And as far as South Africa are concerned, well, they have a lot of soul searching to do, no doubt about it. And beatings, I mean, to come and give such a win 2 matches against South Africa is very creditable. And let me tell you, this New Zealand team is a team which is just building up with lots of youth. But it says one thing about the New Zealand team, that this team has lots of enthusiasm and lots of capabilities as a team. Now, as far as South Africa were concerned, for South Africa, well, I wouldn't say much about the South African team. It's just that they were not able to really get things going for them. But yes, they have the Pakistan tour. Pakistan is already in South Africa, as you know. So South Africa would be pretty wary about that, and they would be hoping that Hashim Amla and de Villiers get fit as quickly as possible. I mean, Amla gets fit as quickly as possible, and then Hashim Amla comes in. And as you know, also South Africa had a rotation policy where they didn't have Dale Steyn, they brought in Morne Morkel, so probably they did some experiments too. So probably they are not going to read too much into it, but still that is a matter of concern according to me. And I'm sure South Africans, knowing them as a team, they would definitely be well equipped when they face Pakistan for sure. Well, on this note, dear fans, friends and subscribers, with this special report today with Ryan Mclaren hitting a 6 and staving off the whitewash for South Africa, but New Zealand winning the series 2-1 and also ending the tour of South Africa, this is your host Ram, ending the Cricket Happening Show special report today. Thank you.